Here are 3 quarterbacks that were selected in the first round of the same draft and how the first 6 seasons of their career shaped up in the league. After their rookie season, you can see none of them necessarily got off to a rock star start. Although that quickly changed when the quarterback on the left had one of the best seasons from a quarterback in NFL history and won the MVP. The following year, the quarterback on the right would also stamp his name in the league, throwing for nearly 40 touchdowns and 4,500 yards. And this trend would continue for these players going forward in their career, year after year staying at the top of the hierarchy of quarterbacks in the league, quickly becoming some of the most talented players we've ever seen. Although if you notice, the quarterback in the middle has certainly, let's just say, done the opposite. And the difference is alarming when you take a look at these 3 players' total career statistics up until this point. Now, obviously, there's a specific reason as to why I'm showing you this. And that reason is out of these 3 quarterbacks, only one of them has ever won a Super Bowl. In fact, only one of these players has even made it to a Super Bowl. Now, before I reveal these players to you, I want to expand on something. In the sports world, it's very difficult to find something a mass majority of fans can collectively agree on or root for. But every now and then, there is a specific criteria in which this statement does not apply. And probably the biggest example of this is the same reason as to why college basketball sees so much success in March. The underdog. There's nothing more satisfying, really, in life than when someone who was counted out their entire life somehow finds a way to come out on top. And that brings me back to these 3 quarterbacks. If you haven't figured it out, the player on the left is none other than Lamar Jackson, and the player on the right is obviously Josh Steinfeld. And the player in the middle is maybe the biggest player in the league that embodies the word underdog. Well, really, he can embody many words. Counted out, scapegoat, dark horse, loser, you name it. But I think what he goes by now is just more fitting. A champion. What Sam Darnold accomplished with the Seahawks this past season is nothing short of one of the greatest stories this league has ever seen. But to really understand its significance, we got to go back to when this all started. The year is 2018, and it features one of the most loaded drafts in recent memory, with players like Saquon Barkley, Quentin Nelson, and Derwin James selected in the first round. Although the quarterbacks were the players that really took the spotlight in this draft, having 5 of them took during night 1. Lamar and Allen, as I mentioned at the top of this video, along with Baker Mayfield at number 1 and Josh Rosen at number 10. And with all this talent at the quarterback position, Darnold found his way near the top of this draft, being selected at number 3 overall to the Jets, rightfully earned. Now, about 90% of the time when an NFL team is picking near the top of the draft, specifically inside the top 3, it's because they didn't have a well-constructed roster along with dysfunction around their coaching staff and management that didn't allow them to compete at a high level during the regular season. Ah, shit. I just accidentally described the New York Jets organization, didn't I? A 21-year-old quarterback landed himself in one of the worst spots in all of sports and had heavy expectations to turn this team around. And as you all know, that didn't necessarily go to plan. In Darnold's first 3 years in the league being the Jets starting quarterback, he was putting himself in the record books, but not exactly the way you intend to. He threw 39 total interceptions in that span, having 11 or more thrown in each season, while simultaneously never hitting at least 20 passing touchdowns in that span also, joining David Carr as the only starting quarterback since 1990 to accomplish that. Now, I don't believe it's always as simple as looking at raw numbers and deciding your opinions that way. Something I'd love to emphasize in sports is that context matters, especially when talking about young quarterbacks in the league. Here is a look into the Jets starting offenses during the Sam Darnold era. In his rookie year, where he started 13 games and finished with a 4-9 record, he had a backfield tandem that consisted of Isaiah Crowell and Bilal Powell, and his receiving core had names like Quincy Enunwa and Chris Herndon. Fast forward to his sophomore year, and the Jets made attempts to make this roster better. But I almost consider these attempts similar to when Shaq attempts a free throw. Le'Veon Bell was his new starting running back, which may go down as one of the worst contracts in NFL history. And his revamped wide receiver core included Jamison Crowder as his wide receiver 1 and also a 32-year-old Demaryius Thomas. Rest in peace, DT. In his final year in New York, I mean, come on, man. I just feel bad at this point. His shiny brand new starting running back was 37-year-old Frank Gore. And they brought in 3 new receivers in Breshad Perriman, Braxton Berrios, and Denzel Mims. Now, as you can see, the talent that was put around Darnold in New York was not necessarily ideal, but I really want to put into perspective just how bad he had it. Here are all the players that I just mentioned being a part of the offense alongside Darnold. 13 total players. Now, I want you to take a guess at how many years combined these players went on to play in the league. I'll give you a second. Go ahead. Now, if you somehow guessed 22, you'd be correct. 22 years combined between 13 players. That's on average only 1.7 years played beyond their years in New York. Sam Darnold was essentially throwing to receivers that literally shouldn't have been in the league. And with development like that for a young quarterback, it's easy to see how his career went the way it did. Fast forward just 3 seasons, and Darnold is now on his 3rd team in just 6 seasons into the league. Quickly looking like the end of his career was around the corner, seeming like all he had left in this league was bouncing around from team to team being a backup. Until an opportunity of a lifetime opened, and I don't believe he understood what he just signed up for. On March 12th, Sam Darnold would sign a 1-year, $10 million deal to become a bridge quarterback for the Vikings while they try to ease in their rookie quarterback. Walking into, I'd say, an ideal situation for any quarterback to be in, considering the weapons this team has alongside one of the best play callers in the league. But I want to remind you of the player we're talking about here. A quarterback who was 14 games below 500, had a career completion percentage south of 60, and also had a near 1-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio, getting another chance to be a starting quarterback in this league. No pressure, no expectations, no media in his ear. His first chance to be a starter in this league with real structure. And boy, that can do wonders for a quarterback in this league.
So far in the Viking defense, 2nd down 9. Darnold getting messy, going deep, and he's got Jefferson. He's got Jefferson. It's a foot race downfield with Brown. Shifting gears, getting a block. That's 6.
2nd and goal. Darnold looking for his 5th touchdown pass of the day. Addison gets his 3rd. Good. Darnold rolling, has Akers. He holds on. Oh, not an easy catch, but Akers went down and got it, and Minnesota will take it.
Going to the Jets, struggling in the early part of his career. Going to Carolina, getting beaten out by Baker Mayfield, hurting his ankle. Going to San Fran, taking a little recalibration, and then gets a chance with J.J. McCarthy here, going down early in the season, and he has done everything that this team has needed. He's delivered in every way.
Sam Darnold completely turned his career around like no player has in NFL history, leading the Vikings to a 14-3 record and absolutely lighting the league on fire, being at the top of almost any statistic you can name. And that first statement I made is in no way hyperbolic. Darnold just did something historic that no one could have predicted. I mean, prior to this season, you could say it's a true shocker that this guy is even still in the league. And it's not like he just had, a solid season or anything. No, he was in MVP conversations for a majority of the year. Truly something special to be witnessing. Although this Cinderella run would not end the way everyone may have thought. On January 5th, 2025, the Vikings would face off against the Detroit Lions with the #1 seed in the NFC on the line. An opportunity to really showcase to the world that this season from Darnold was no fluke. And how would he respond to that? By having the worst game of the season and one of the worst games of his career, having his lowest passing yards and completion percentage in a game that season, while simultaneously throwing for his 2nd most pass attempts, landing the Vikings to fall to the 2nd seed in the NFC, matching them up with the Los Angeles Rams in the wild card come playoff time. A chance for Darnold to put everything behind him and show up when the lights mattered the most.
Darnold's in trouble, and down he goes. Darnold is brought down with a sack. Play action, pressure off the edge. Down goes Darnold, Kobe Durant. Darnold balls out. Picked up by Verse. Off to the races. And gone for the touchdown. Darnold can't let the ball go and takes another sack. 4th down and 2. Darnold is sacked again. Darnold backs up. Ball's got to come out. He takes another big sack. 3 games in 11 days and then rest. Another sack. And this time it's Neville Gallimore. He's been in on another. 2nd and 10. Darnold pulls it down and down he goes. Sack number 9. Darnold slings it and he's picked. Intercepted by Durant.
Yeah, he got sacked an NFL playoff record 9 times. It felt like the player we watched during the first 16 games of the season somehow went back to his old ways in these final 2 games. And with this dilemma, the Vikings were in a tough spot come the offseason. Although Darnold put together an overall amazing season, they ended it with such a bad taste in their mouth that it made the decision easy for Minnesota, especially considering they just invested a top 10 pick on a quarterback and were ready for him to take over the reins. Landing Darnold to find a new home in free agency, which would ultimately be the greatest decision in his career. Darnold would sign a 3-year deal worth $100 million with the Seattle Seahawks in early March 2025, sparking major reactions from the media, and not necessarily in his favor. If there's anything you could say Darnold took away from his early years in the league, it's that being doubted is nothing new to him. The Seahawks opened the season with an 8.5 over-under win total, along with plus 6,000 odds to win the Super Bowl. Those are worse odds than the Arizona Cardinals had to open this season, putting the Seahawks in, I guess you can say, an underdog mode. And as you know from the career that Darnold has had, that's nothing to him. He was told he couldn't rise to the occasion in big moments. I mean, you saw how he performed when the spotlight was on him. There's no way he can lead a team to a Super Bowl, being turnover prone and not showing up when his team needs him. And considering the regular season he had with the Seahawks, that's fair criticism. I mean, he led the NFL in turnovers, which was a main talking point a lot of media used against the Seahawks to open up the playoffs, bringing back similar points that you can't win with a guy like that as your quarterback. You can't win with someone that won't show up at the biggest moments on the biggest stage. And after hearing major noise going into his 2nd straight playoff appearance, how would Darnold respond to that? Like an all-time great would. The Seahawks would play 3 games en route to winning the Super Bowl against the 49ers, Rams, and Patriots. Darnold would play 186 total offensive snaps in those games. And after leading the league in turnovers during the regular season, he did not commit a single one in 3 consecutive games. The first time in his career he's ever done that. And it was in the playoffs. The media called him every negative thing in the book. But now they got to add a Super Bowl champion to that list. Hope everyone who watched this video learned something and also enjoyed. I'm out. Peace.